Very good day, learners. Today we are starting with Theme 3, Class 11th History. The title of Theme 3 is The Empire, an Empire Across Three Continents. Children, here we will be discussing the time period of 1st century to 7th century in two phases. The empire about which I said that it extended across the three continents is directly referring to the world's oldest empire, biggest empire, powerful empire, none other than the Roman Empire. And right here we'll be studying the Roman Empire's development from the 1st century to 7th century. As I said, we'll be studying it in two phases: early empire and the late antiquity, late empire. So let us begin. It was the ancient Roman Empire which was spread across the three continents. These three continents were Europe, whole of the Europe, western part of Asia, and northern part of Africa. Once again I am repeating, whole of the Europe, almost the whole part of the Europe, western part of Asia, and the northern part of Africa. Up to this, the Roman Empire used to extend, Roman Empire used to rule. Let us start with almost all the features. I'll be explaining you each and everything in detail. Kindly very focus on listening, because though I have communicated you through a very nice chart, but I'll require your particular attention when I explain a particular term. So here we go. Main social features of the Roman Empire. So under the social features of the Roman Empire, we'll be discussing food, we'll be discussing dress and costume styles, social classes, condition of women, standard of living, sources of entertainment. These would be the heads under which we'll be discussing the social features. Some of the features are very common and some of the features need to be attended properly. So let us begin. First is food. So children, when you observe that Roman Empire had been extended up to the three continents, which includes almost Europe, the western part of Asia, and northern part of Africa, it comes to you directly that this whole of the region includes a diverse kind of geographical area, geographical terrain, as well as diverse kind of culture and population. So definitely they had the different kind of crops, different kind of fooding habits, different kind of diets. Under their food, at a broader level, we can say that in their food, in the food of the Roman people, wheat, wine, olive oil, barley, beans, and lentils were the major part. It has been defined by the archaeologists also and the historians also. They have confirmed that these used to be the major part of the Roman people's food. Secondly, we go to dress and costume style. Children, it especially varied from region to region in the Roman Empire. When we talk of the European part, European part especially is in cold climatic zone. So there have been different, especially warm type of clothing styles. When you enter in the northern African part, Roman Empire used to extend in the Saharan desert and up to Egypt. So there the temperature of the climatic condition of this particular zone is a little bit warm. Okay, so accordingly their dressing style varies. Likewise it would be in Asian part of Roman Empire. Okay, now we go to the most important aspect of the social features, that is social classes. Children, I am going to elaborate it very detailed. You are supposed to concentrate on it very much, because very good questions could be framed over it. Social classes. When we say social classes, at a broad level, there had been the two kind of classes. First is Presbyterian and other is plebeian. Presbyterian could further be divided in the aristocratic class and the second class. When we say aristocratic class, it directly belongs to nobles, those who were having the control over land, those who were having the social prestige, those who were enjoying privileges. Okay, they were running some other kind of work also, administration work also. Second class was that class which were under the aristocrat class and used to support the aristocrats. So these two combinedly form the Presbyterian class. Now we move to the next section of the social classes, that is plebeian. Under the plebeian there had been the lower classes and the slaves. Children, lower classes especially were the landless peasants, were the poor artisans, laborers, etc. And when we say slaves, slaves had very miserable condition in Roman rule. It would be hard to digest for you, but I want to clear you that slaves were the one who had slave was the one who had sold himself for the sake of money, for fulfilling some urgent requirement, who had sold himself in the market. Whosoever has purchased him would be taking work from him for the whole of his life. One who has purchased a slave was called master, and one who is a slave is supposed to follow all the orders of master. There would be a significant control of master over slave. Even in the matters of personal liberties, master would have significant control over slaves. Children, if I say personal liberty means marriage, having children, shifting somewhere else. All these are called personal liberties. Means slaves were controlled extremely tight way by their masters, whom they would marry or not marry, what time they would produce children or not produce, or how many children they are supposed to produce. Even that was controlled by the masters. The worst thing out of that is still to come, that is, slaves' children were also considered as slaves. They would also be serving to the same master. So, it had been a very bad practice which was running in the Roman era, in the Roman times. Once again, I want to remind you that this force of master over their slave, that whom they should marry, and how many children they are supposed to produce, that was observed by the masters, because slaves were considered as one-time investment. They were forced by their masters to produce more and more children, so more slaves could be produced and more slaves could be engaged in work. That was seen as a business of benefit by the masters. This practice was called slave breeding, and this slave breeding was considered a business of benefit by the masters, but it was totally inhuman, isn't it? So, I have cleared you that plebeian class was part of the Roman society, but that was living very low standards. Whether they were the lower class or whether they were the slaves, both had to live very simple way, both had to live very restricted way, both had to go through very hard work. Though the lower class had some freedoms, they had freedom to decide that they would work for someone or not. they would what kind of ways they would take, or what kind of duration they would work for someone. But as far as the slaves are considered, they didn't had any kind of freedom. Children, more worse of this, I want to let you know, many of the times where uh, when a master is having a number of slaves, to organize them, to manage them, and to control them, he used to keep them in chains. He used to tie them in chains. Even there had been a concept of slave branding. Slave branding refers to when a master make his slave to have a burn on either elbow or arm or even overhead, forehead, so that he could be recognized well if he run away. So such type of bad practices were going on. All these things were about the plebeian, I have told you. So children, up to now, under the social class, you have observed two of the classes. One is Presbyterian and other one is plebeian. Plebeian, if I say in simple words, refers to the lower class, and Presbyterian refers to the higher class. Presbyterian includes the aristocrats. Aristocrats are those who are having very good access to the land, having very good approach in the administration, and dealing nicely, using their privileges of the higher status. Second class, I have already told you that they were supporters of the aristocrats. Children, now further in the social features of the Roman Empire, we discuss the condition of women. Women, who is very significant part of any society, who constitute half of the population of any society. Let us discuss the women. Just a minute. Okay. Condition of women has both the aspects. One was positive aspect and other one was negative aspect. Positive aspect, that they had right to inherit the father's property. They had significant control over holding the property and dealing with it. Their husband could not interfere in it. Negative aspect was ill treatment by the husbands. Husband had significant control over wife. Marriage and the divorce procedure both were very simple in the Roman times. So sometimes women had to go through some miseries if they had been divorced. Now, standard of living of the Roman people, that is another social aspect, as we are discussing the social features. Standard of living was almost good. People used to do agriculture as the main activity. Along with that, there had been trade in especially olive oil, wine, and the precious materials. Okay, so those who had the opportunity to cultivate in the large fields and to involve in trade, they had been enjoying very good standards of life. But those who had been landless or who had been slaves, they were living very low standard type of life. Now we go to the sources of entertainment. When we say entertainment, it is a necessary part of any time of any duration of history. So let us see in the Roman times what kind of entertainment were there. So first source of entertainment was fighting with the beasts. Fighting of gladiator with the beasts means there had been some people who used to organize fighting with a beast, in which someone is supposed to defeat the beast. It could be lion, or it could be any wild animal in which a fighter would be trying to save himself from the beast, showing his bravery, showing his fighting skills and all. Another kind of entertainment which is still running, that is colloquium or amphitheater type of thing, which shows you the direct entertainment, in which opera type of thing was done, where the short play used to be organized. Okay, so children, in this slide we have discussed the social feature of Roman Empire in detail. Now we move to the next. Now we are going to discuss the economic features of the Roman times. So, as I told you that agriculture was the prime activity of the Roman people. Agriculture, especially, as I told you that Roman Empire had been extremely large. Okay, just a minute. So, Roman Empire had been extremely large. So, Europe, Northern Africa, and western part of Asia, it used to comprise the Roman Empire. It had been extended up to this much. So conditions in North Africa, Egypt and Italy best for growing crops, especially wheat, wine, grapes wine, and olive oil. Olive oil was the most important material, most important thing which had been strengthening economy, as it has been extreme demand as it has been in extreme demand uh, in the other areas. So all these crops had been the major focus of the people. Slaves were deployed in the agriculture. Children, as you know, we are talking of the time of 1st to 7th century. There had been maximum manual activity in the agriculture. Means machines and all, or techniques and all had not emerged by that time. So maximum activity in the agriculture was being done manually. So in fields, slaves were deployed. Slaves were used at extreme for growing wheat, for having the olive oil, for pressing the grapes in the wine pressage. Okay. The other feature of the Roman agriculture was that empire included regions that had a reputation for exceptional fertility. Exceptional fertility refers that these areas had very good potential of growing certain crops. Means agriculture was in its extreme good state during the Roman rule. Now, when we say that we are going to discuss economy, we'll discuss secondly the craft and industry. So after agriculture, the industry was the second one. It was craft and industry included minting. Mint directly refers to the making of coins. In Hindi, mint is also known as Taksal. Taksal is a place where coins are made. Okay, so various kind of coins were made in the mints. It depended on that what state economy is going through. If economy had been in very good state, there had been the circulation of silver coins also. Sometimes when you would study in the next sections that when the silver mines or silver supply got disturbed, they published the gold coins as well. And when the economy was in its bad condition, they had been publishing the copper coins also. So all the three kind of coins had been published in circulation. Mining, especially of the coal mine, iron mines, had been in practice over there. Amphora was a special kind of pot which was made, which was designed, which was created for the purpose of exporting liquids, especially wine and olive oil. These two are liquids, and they were made in extreme amount in the Roman territories, and they were in extreme demand all other parts of the world. From the Roman areas, olive oil and wines were being circulated up to the large distances. For circulating these two liquids, there had been need of special pot so that uh, so that they could be circulated without any kind of damage, without any kind of spill, without any kind of problem. They could be circulated up to large distance. With this purpose, a special kind of pot was constructed. A pot was made that was called amphora. It used to be hard enough. It used not to get broken with easy with a little struck and all. Okay, so amphora had been in practice, had been constructed to export the liquids, especially the wine and olive oil, up to large distances from Roman territories. Next stage, making papyrus scrolls. This was also a major industrial activity in the Roman Empire. When you say papyrus, you could find the word paper in hidden. Papyrus was a kind of stamp on which letters could be written. So papyrus scroll was a kind of present day book in which various papyrus thin sheets had been arranged and on which something could be written. It used to carry the important information, important transactions, and important details. So that too had been introduced in the Roman Empire, Roman rule, Roman duration. Now we move to the third aspect of the economic features, that is domestication of animals. Children, when agriculture is in practice, definitely animal power would be used. So domestication of animals was the another kind of profession which Roman people were engaged in. They used to rear the animals. They used to deal with the animal products like milk, curd, butter, meat, eggs, etc. Domestication of animals also led to a practice which is called transhuman. Transhumans was a practice in which people of one place used to shift with their herds to another place in search of fodder. Because if you are having a large herd and if you are staying at one place only, the grassage of this place would finish in some days. So those people who had large herds, they used to travel from one place to another to feed their herds regularly, and so that there is never ever any shortage of fodder for the herds. To keep it up, they used to shift from one place to another. This practice was referred as transhumans. Now we move to the last section of the economic feature of the Roman, that is trade. Children, when we say trade, just a minute. When we say trade was dependent on some certain features. I have enlisted it in some certain features. I'll be letting you know. First is routes. Routes are the roads which provide an access the Roman businessmen to go to the distant lands. These routes were Silk Route, especially Silk Route was the road route, was the direct route from Europe, crossing across Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and then approaching towards China. Other route was the sea route, through which in which the Roman traders used to cross the sea, especially the Mediterranean, crossing the Mediterranean Sea and then entering in the Arabian Sea, and then after crossing the Arabian Sea and entering in the Bay of Bengal, and then reaching to the Japan and entering to the Chinese coast. That was the sea route. Land route already I have told you. Land route, whatever the neighboring countries European countries were in connection with the West Asian population. Okay, up to Iran, there had been the boundaries of the Roman Empire. So these routes in which people of one particular region are crossing the next region, that they were using the land routes. Another significant concept of the trade is markets. So especially Roman wine, Roman olive oil, and other precious material were circulated, were exported, and many of the important things like textiles from India, the spices from India were also imported. Goods, already I've told you. Placeage, the different places, as Roman Empire had been in the vast as Roman Empire had been in vast extension. So the different places had been in connection with each other, in relation with each other. Deployment of free slaves. I have already told you that free slaves were those people who were working for the masters. They had been deployed in the different factories, mines, fields, etc., to always to reduce the cost of production. That was another feature. External trade means trade up to the distant lands from Roman territory. Internal trade means trade within the Roman Empire. So all these were the major features which I have explained you. Today we'll keep up to this much, children. Rest of the thing I'll explain you in the next video. Thank you.